Hello everyone, today I want to show you my almost 2 years old battery based off-grid solar system. When I first started out, I have a total of 4 320 watt solar panel added to the side of my house, which give me about 1300 watts total. This was strictly used to power my electric water heaters, and this was going directly from the solar panels into my water heater. You can check out my previous video if you want to see that video. Later on, I added a total of 20 280 watts solar panel, giving me another extra 5.6 kilowatt of power. Today I'll be doing an overview of my entire system. The solar to water heater directly system works so well that in the summertime I overproduce. By 9 to 10 a.m. in the morning the system has already get to full temperature, so the system would just shut off and the solar is just going to waste. That's the reason why I decided to combine my system, because during the summertime my central air conditioner requires a lot of power. So in the summertime I can definitely use the extra power. At the very end of the video I will also be showing you all my bill and how much this system has saved me over the past 2 years. Here's the power room. This is where everything, all the wire and everything get connected and where everything get distributed. Let's go over all of the major components. So from the top here, we'll start with this one. This is a pure sine wave reliable electric inverter, and this is actually a 60 volt rated 60 volt inverter, 3500 watts. The main inverters, these are the MPP 5048MG. These two inverters are a little bit special because they are strictly 240 volts AC outputs. But the special thing about these two are that they are rated to take in up to 500 volts DC solar. It's in high voltage solar. Put out 240 volt single phase. These are not split phase, so you could only use this as 240 single phase output. The main big array that you see, 10 panels will go into this inverter, and then the other 10 panel will go into this second inverter here. The Midnight Classic is only responsible for taking power from 4 of the panel that's on the side. And here is the solar disconnect. All of the solar array comes into this little Midnight solar disconnect. From the solar panels go and it will get feed into this 2 inverter. The other line get feed into the Midnight Classic, and then all of the inverter connection, the inverter outputs, it will go into this Midnight distribution box. Okay, let me go over all of the components for this power distribution box. So I have 3 sets of circuit breakers here. Okay, and this is the bypass breaker for the AC side, and this is the AC in circuit breaker. This is the grid in circuit breaker, it's pretty much. And then I have this DC disconnect for the inverter and charge controller circuit breakers. And here is the battery disconnect, and this is the Midnight Classic Whiz Bang Junior. And what this does is that it just measures the amperage, what's going into the battery, what's going out of the battery. And just in case what you were wondering what this little box is, so this is just a wireless Wi-Fi bridge that I have to buy in order to use the Midnight Classic monitoring system. So I have a Whiz Bang Junior installed with the Midnight Classic to monitor this over the internet. This is all the wire coming from the power distribution box, get routed, go into the battery box. And on the side of my battery box I have built this little disconnects box, and this is the master manual disconnect switch out of a Nissan Leaf battery. I also have a little battery meter right here. This can give me roughly the state of charge. Right now it's at 59%, or it can give me voltage, 60.8 volts right now. Okay, there is inside the battery disconnect box. I have 3 sets of battery. So that's why each one of them is going through a 200 amps fuse, and these are salvage parts out of the electric vehicle. So I have 3 sets of fuse. This is the negative side. Everything get grounded and go together, and then the positive side was the one that go to the fuse, and then all get tied up together up here, and then go into the master manual switch, disconnect switch. Here's my battery box. Currently it's sitting in a 48 by 40 by 18 inch flammable metal cabinets. This is my lithium battery bank. 12 Chevy Volt Gen 2 16 cells modules. Each module rated 58 volt nominal, fully charged to about 65.5 volt if you charge them to 4.1 volt per cell. But with my charge controller I can only max out at 64 volt. Therefore I only charge the battery to 4 volt per cell, which is perfectly fine because that will extend the life of these batteries. Each module are 3.1 kilowatts hour, giving me a total of 37.2 kilowatts hour battery storage. So let's talk about the saving, but first I want to address that I think many of us already understand that a off-grid system will actually probably most likely will never pay itself off, or will never pay itself up in time to make it worth it. I already knew about this before I installed all of this off-grid system, but anyway I still want to go over the numbers. If you take a look to the right where it says solar install costs, 24 the use panel, and then the labors to install the panels, the inverter, the charge controller, the wires, I installed them myself. So there is no labor cost in those, but I did have someone came over to install the solar panel onto the roof itself. All of that total costs, and then the battery costs and the miscellaneous stuff. My system, I would say roughly is costs about $14,000, which I think it's very cheap for the size of the system and for a battery-based system, especially a lithium battery-based system. It is still $14,000 sound like it's a lot, but in an off-grid solar system currently, that I believe that number is still very cheap compared to other systems. So I installed my system around the end of May 2018. So if you look to the left, I have my electric bill starting from 2017. So for the whole year of 2017, my electric bill is around $1,300, which is still very cheap. Is because I'm very conservative on how I use my power. I'm always trying to be very conservative, and during the summertime here in Arizona that can get very hot. I still only set my my temperatures for my air conditioner around 81 or 82, even 82 degrees. Anything lower than that, then you're going to start paying an arms and a legs for your electric bill. 81, 82 is not a very comfortable number. You want to be at about 78, 77, 78 is the comfortable number. But most of us here in Arizona, if we want to be conservative in using power, we have to set our thermostat as about 81. Looking into the second portion of the 2018, let's say June 2018, if you compare June 2018, which is my bill is $137, if you look at June 2017, you see it's $194. So there is a pretty big difference there. And if you keep going, you see it start dropping all the way down to winter. It still drop anything from $50 to $60 during the summers, and then another $10 to $15 during the winter times. So that whole year it dropped at about $200. But that's because that's only about half of the year. Okay, so now start looking into 2019. You see there's another big difference. So now the difference is about $550 per year, which still doesn't seem like much. I got rid of my natural gas. So my house have natural gas for the water heaters, and then for the central heater as well. So finally I got rid of the gas, because if you know, for the gas, it's natural gas is very cheap, but here they still charge you a service fee. So even though you only might use like $10 of gas, but they still charge you a $20 flat rate service fee. And I don't know how much it has gone up ever since, but before it was minimum $30 a month even if you don't use any gas. Okay, and then I just give it an average of, let's say, $45 a month, but normally it's a lot more than that. In the winter time we can go up to, like, you know, $70-$80, sometimes even $100 if we use a lot of hot waters and heating. So I just estimate it to be a saving of about $550-$600 a year, but I think realistically it's a lot more than that. All these numbers, I'm also very conservative with all this estimate. The saving from the grid is another about $500 to $600 a year. Now this does not account for my mini split air conditioner, which I added in my garage. So I work in my garage a lot now, taking batteries apart and stuff like that. So in the summer times I run that air conditioner 12,000 BTU, I would say from 8 a.m. in the morning all the way to 4 p.m. So that's 8-9 hours constantly a day, and it runs non-stop. Now in the winter times now I actually use the heat pumps on it too, because a lot of time it gets too cold in the morning and I run it for a few hours. So I give that a total of, you know, let's just say a rough estimate of an extra of 1,200 to 1,300 kilowatts. And so here it's 13 cents a kilowatt, so I would add another extra cost of maybe $140 to $150 a year. Ever since we have solar, I'm starting to be less conservative, and I use a lot of more stuff like the electric to heat my pond in my backyard. If we were to do the same thing when we still had without solar, it will be a significant add-on to my electric bill. Most of the neighbors that's around me here, their bill is probably 25 to 30% higher than my bill. So all of the rough number, I would say my saving, you know, per year ever since having solar is probably maybe 1,000 to 1,500 a year, which is not much. So it's going to take me a while, at least I would say 10 years, 8 to 10 years to offset the cost. It's not just about the saving, or, you know, when you're going to offset that cost, because it's going to be a very long time. Even for a grid tie system, you're looking at a lot longer than 10 years to get to offset your costs. But what about the comfort values? What about the when the power goes out and I still have electric? So it's hard to value that kind of you know, I don't know how to calculate those values, obviously. It's just going to be depend on you. How important is it for you when the power go out and you still have power? You know, for some people that's kind of priceless, which already happened a few times, actually more than a few times. Ever since for the last 2 years, I think my power has from the grid dropped out like 5 to 6 times, because of all the monsoons and all of the rains that we have here recently for the past year. So the power has went out, you know, multiple times, and every single time it's at least a few hours, and I still have power. You know, I can still work in my garage. So I think that's kind of priceless. The comfort level, for the last year and a half, 2 years that we have the solar, I'm now able to run air conditioners in my house, and I'm able to leave it run at 77 degrees. Now that's a huge improvement. So anyway, guys, I hope this video helped out some of you. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching, and if you please like the video, thumbs up, and please subscribe to my channel.